Hello, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Tuesday, November 9th, and once again, some more exciting action here. Plenty to talk about today. Bitcoin and ETH continuing to rip last night, making new all-time highs in the Asian session. Along with that, we've got plenty of alts ripping as well. Finally, CJ, we got Litecoin making a move, Cardano making a move as well. Love to see it. Also, plenty of alts, worth taking a look at. We've been showcasing these cup and handle formations. Lots of breakouts happening here, so plenty to talk about today. Before we dive into it, CJ, how you doing this morning?
Doing well, Monty. Thank you. A lot of interesting price action last night with Bitcoin creating a new all-time high once again, above that 67K level. Interesting now, though, with the equities down about 0.5% to 1% across the board in all the major indices. And so we seem to be feeling a little bit of that from Bitcoin here as well, with price just at around 66.9. So we'll see how the end of the day closes. But overall, things definitely are interesting and a lot to discuss here today.
Yeah, I'm just glad we're able to do this show because, we both have Xfinity. Our internet was questionable this morning. And today would have been a bad day to not have a show given the price action we saw last night. So very glad to be doing the show this morning. Our internet is holding up for now. So let's dive into some charts, CJ, before our Comcast goes back down. What do you say?
Actually, I'll be honest, I trust Comcast despite this recent outage. This is the first major one I had. When I had AT&T back in the day in like college, it used to go out all the time.
Oh, I remember those
But,
days.
yeah, because you were there. Anyways, so what we have with Bitcoin here is a breakout from that symmetrical triangle we had highlighted. And I view this very similar to the classic reaccumulation structure, the Wyckoff reaccumulation structure, very similar to this. So now it looks as if we have, in fact, broken above into phase C out of that symmetrical triangle and are now attempting to experience a role reversal on this top level of 66K as former resistance. The bulls hope to turn that into new support, which I think they will. Also, we have a bullish cross on the MACD, very, very promising in terms of momentum in the trend. It's very clear now, especially after last night's bullish engulfing candle, that bullish price action is very strong within the trend. But just having a little stoppage here today with the equity market suffering a little bit as we start the opening half hour. Also, another thing I want to share is Glassnode's accumulation trend score. So you see that we usually have a lot of accumulation in these areas prior to like the last tails in the bull market. Like this is what I would call a tail, kind of like a blow off top. We go up super quickly and then we see distribution. Same thing here. Once we started reaching a lower score in terms of the accumulation, this is where we started to see distribution within the trend. But that's not what we're seeing right now. We are still seeing accumulation based on this Glassnode accumulation trend score. And I think when you pair this with the theory or the philosophy of the Wyckoff accumulation schematic, or excuse me, reaccumulation schematic, then I think it paints a clear picture of where we're at in the trend. And I think that we will likely consolidate here, depending on what happens in the traditional markets. But I do expect Bitcoin to continue to push up and be very, very bullish. There's a lot of price cheerleading and congratulations of gains that have been made recently. Just want to remind everybody, this is what we expect. This is what we've planned for. Let's just keep a level head, not have too much hubris, and stay focused on the goal at hand, because I think that this next month could be very, very impactful.
Yeah, absolutely, CJ. And I think you're spot on there. One thing that can kill you at the end of this market cycle is getting swept up in that mania or the euphoria of it. And I can tell you, CJ was talking about sort of the tail end of the market cycles. One thing I've noticed historically is that when we're in those tail ends of the market cycles, people think that they're not going to end. They think that it's just going to keep going and going, but they do come to an end. Those whales do start to distribute, like CJ just said. So be on the watch out for that. We'll be in the crypto community on the lookout for that, because I think that's going to be one of the first red flags right when we see these whales start distributing or even stop accumulating at the rate at which they're accumulating now. I'm going to be watching for that. But I think what's most important is just not getting swept up in that euphoria, because right now, I think we're already starting to experience a little bit of that. It's very easy to think that, it's never going to stop and that there's endless money to be made in this market, but that's how you get burned. So just a reminder to be disciplined, keep your stops in place, and just don't get swept up in the mania. But yeah,
You're
go
going to
ahead.
hear the term. You're going to hear the term super cycle a lot as Bitcoin kind of approaches 100K here. And although that there is merit to that idea of a super cycle, it doesn't mean that it's without 40 or 50% drawdowns. So, me personally, I'm not comfortable holding through a 40, 50% drawdown. So I'm going to try to take profit and get completely out of the market and even potentially try to capture that downside potential. But that doesn't invalidate the whole concept of a super cycle. So good point, Monty. Just wanted to finish with that. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. And, I think today we're seeing some interesting stuff, right? I think Chris Vincentini, he just put it in the chat, Bitcoin's pulling back a little bit over the last 15 to 20 minutes here. So I just wanted to quickly pull up the Bitcoin dominance chart, because like you pointed out yesterday, CJ, Bitcoin dominance made a very strong rebound from those lower levels, regained a lot of ground, but it is coming up to retest this highly critical level of the 20-period smooth moving average that has more or less kind of acted as either support or resistance or a breakout level for Bitcoin dominance. As you can see here, after that last 48 hours of incredible price action from Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance came back up to this 44% level, which just last week, CJ, we were highlighting as a highly critical level for Bitcoin dominance to maintain, lest it become kind of a mini altcoin season here, which is sort of what we saw as Solana ripped past 250, ETH, made new all-time highs. But now we're seeing a sort of different market dynamic. Bitcoin showing strength up to this moving average. Now I think that, CJ, we've talked about this in the past, but whenever Bitcoin makes new all-time highs, that brings on confidence for retail traders. That brings on, the attention that typically drives Bitcoin higher in retail markets. But given the fact that now we're hitting this resistance in Bitcoin dominance, Bitcoin pulling back just a little bit, to me, it's no surprise that we're seeing some alts make some big moves today. Assets like Cardano, assets like Litecoin, CJ, making some big moves today. And I think that makes sense when we take a look at what we're seeing from Bitcoin dominance, it hitting this critical level of resistance. But that's also on the back of, Bitcoin performing tremendously well, making new all-time highs, and bringing back that confidence that is so critical to the performance of these altcoins. So, CJ, I actually wanted to toss a question to you, because we've been talking a lot about Cardano. I know there are several members of our community that hold Cardano, and, it's been just underperforming relative to the rest of the market, consolidating below this 20-period smooth moving average for, a month and a half. Now, finally, after a good day of price action yesterday, nice continuation today above this 20-period smooth moving average. Are you looking to buy Cardano at this point? I know you said you're waiting for some strength. We're getting some strength. What are your thoughts here?
Well, let's talk just purely from a technical perspective first. I did say I wanted to see some strength. We're seeing that strength. From a shorter term perspective, I would buy Cardano today and I would look for continuation. Wholesale prices, we just got the report about an hour ago. They rose 8.6% year over year in October. And so that's actually tied for the highest ever. And that's scaring the market right now as kind of inflation concerns hurt the traditional equities and indices. Thank you for showing that. So that's definitely bleeding into crypto and hurting the trend in the short term. But overall, I really like to see ADA where it is in its current technical formation. Now, fundamentally, I think I disagree in terms of like ADA and its current valuation relative to the ecosystem and what it has built on it. I think that it's still overvalued relative to something like Solana or even something like AVAX. So I'm not going to sell my AVAX at this particular point to buy Cardano. I would trade Cardano in the short term because I really like the technical setup. But in terms of like a fundamental value prop, I still think that we're going to see assets like AVAX flip Cardano in terms of market cap, potentially even by the end of the market cycle if Cardano doesn't really begin to trend or anything. But nonetheless, would you like to get to some doges of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a couple doges of the day I'd like to take a look at today. I want to start with one that I was talking about with some members of the community in the chat last night. I believe it was Dr. Singh. And like stated at the start of the show today, CJ, there are lots of assets that are showing these sort of cup and handle formations, and they're looking poised for a breakout here. One of those in particular that I wanted to mention today is VeChain, VET. Taking a look at this one, it's a particularly interesting one, in my opinion, because it's sort of a double cup and handle here. We have this big cup here with this large handle as well, but also we have this smaller cup with a sort of smaller handle here as well. But if you take, this is something that I had drawn in a long time ago. If you go back to the VeChain Trade Insight that was published back in August, I had a very similar, cup and handle breakout formation drawn here. Obviously, that didn't happen with the September liquidation event that dragged the entire market down. But now, with Bitcoin making new all-time highs, ETH making new all-time highs, that rotation of capital that we're always harping on here, Link is looking poised for a breakout. VeChain is looking poised for a breakout here. And what is worth noting as well is, these lines are the exact same length. When you're doing a cup and handle, you extrapolate the depth of the cup to a potential breakout level. And many of these cup and handles, the breakouts perfectly match up with the previous all-time highs. So, not only is there very little resistance between this point and the previous all-time high, given the parabolic way in which we made those all-time highs, also this level does serve as the next breakout level for assets like VeChain. So, I'm content buying it here. I did buy a few days ago as we broke above this brim of the cup. But that being said, I may not even be taking profits when we reach this level, depending on what we're seeing in terms of the market dynamics and momentum. I actually may be looking to continue to buy this breakout because I think that, a breakout above all-time highs for assets like VeChain will lead to a continuation of some very positive price action at the end of this market cycle. So I think not only does it have a long way to go here, but also a long way to go at the end of this market cycle. And I think VeChain is definitely worth a look today. And real quick, I wanted to share another one that is, very similar in that sort of cup and handle dynamic, and that is Chainlink, Link. So this one, much like VeChain, if you just look at the charts, they look incredibly similar. Also, what's worth noting is comparable market caps as well. So it could take a similar amount of capital to move these assets. But just take a look. Once again, this is an extrapolated depth of the cup here. And once again, it lines up very nicely with the previous all-time high, another breakout level here for Link. So I'm looking to buy this breakout. I talked about this a few days ago here, but a breakout with a candle body close above $35, I think is a clear indication to buy this cup and handle breakout. One thing that's a little bit different with Chainlink than with VeChain is there is some interim resistance at about the $45 level. We saw some resistance here on the way up, unlike we did with VeChain. And thus that creates sort of a sell wall at this level. So don't be too surprised if some profit taking occurs here before a continuation and ultimately completing this pattern and making new all-time highs. So those are my dojos of the day today. Just two of many. I think there are a lot more that you could potentially be looking at that are of the exact same investment thesis, but these two in particular caught my eye today, and they are my dojos of the day.
Yeah, we had some comments last night in chat. I think you had mentioned about VeChain. I've been trading a lot intraday, or I should say intra-night, since all the activity happens during the Asian session, about 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Monty and I's time. It's interesting since we turned, we did daylight savings, so we went back an hour, and Asia didn't. So we're getting the pumps like an hour earlier now. It's been 2 days in a row. Kind of interesting there. The Doge of the day I was going to suggest is Litecoin. It was one that I had bought very late yesterday evening. It's moved a little too fast. It's kind of gotten out of the ballpark at the moment of writing. But honestly, right now, I still think that we're seeing volume. And Litecoin is one of those that I wouldn't make a fundamental case for because I think there are other proof of work chains, namely Bitcoin, that can do everything that Litecoin does. But there's a lot of contention around this project. A lot of people that say that it has no merit or it has no reason for existence. But to me, that kind of just makes it even more fascinating because we've had that with assets like XRP, with assets like Hex, and even I guess you could put Cardano in that category as well because there are a lot of Cardano haters or skeptics in terms of the overall valuation compared to what's actually built in the ecosystem. Regardless, there's a lot of technical analysts in the crypto space, namely Crypto Burb. Love the work he does with his community as well, who have really been following Litecoin. And this one is, it's very similar to the stuff that Monty was talking about in terms of Link and VeChain in a cup and handle breakout. We have a cup all throughout June to September in Litecoin. And yesterday and today we have the breakout with high volume, breaking above some key resistance levels. So I really like Litecoin, and I'm going to look for price to hit these next levels, namely at 280 and 328, with some bullish continuation here. I actually think that what's interesting, we're actually seeing strength in Litecoin right now, while Bitcoin and the collective market kind of give a little bit back. Regardless, I think we're seeing a little bit of an overreaction to that inflation data or that consumer pricing data. We're already seeing equities kind of come back as a result. But once we get off here, I think I might buy some more BT calls. We'll see about that. But I think we're going higher in Bitcoin, and Litecoin is one of those I've been trading around, and I'm still in as well. So,
I mean, you can say what you will about it, like you said, CJ, but historically, when we see Bitcoin make these moves, Litecoin follows right in suit. So, very interesting trade there. Lots of assets to watch today. And, as always, CJ and I will be hanging out in the crypto room today. If you guys want to drop in, ask any questions, talk crypto, get access to our trade insights, our pro charting service, our extensive education curriculum with over 17 hours of content, come over and check it out. You can try it for just $7 for your first month at markrebellion.com/try crypto. We'd love to have you in there. We're in there pretty much 24/7 and have a really great community of traders from all around the world. And if you're looking for a place to trade your crypto, we recommend you check out investvoyager.com. They are the sponsor of this show. You can trade over 60 plus assets, and you can earn up 12% interest on assets like DOT, 9% interest on stable coins like USDC. Some of the best rates in the industry, so head over there and check them out. And if you do, use code REBEL25 when you sign up for $25 free in crypto. That's all I got. CJ, any parting words for our audience before we sign off here today?
Yeah, please hit the like and subscribe to Market Rebellion YouTube if you haven't already. Really helps us spread this information and helps us grow as a community. So we really appreciate that, guys. Hope you have a great day in the world wherever you are, and happy trading, because these times are very, very exciting. And I can hardly sleep nowadays. I mean, it's great. But take care.